All right, here's another story. Now, when we were kids, we didn't have many toys. Really, very few toys. So you had to kind of make things up. You made up a game of baseball. We used to play baseball with 4 kids, okay? And it was called Indian, okay? But anyway, we played with 4 of us because you couldn't get a team. So you had to improvise. You had to think out of the box, right? So we knew that people had, for a variety of reasons, they had CO2 capsules. And they would use them in, things that sprayed a beer, dispenser, etc. There were a number of things. Anyway, a CO2 capsule is about that big, and it's about a ½ inch across and about 3 inches high, and then it tapers down to a thin neck. And the devices that they would use it in would punch a small hole, just like a pinhole through it, and then that compressed air, CO2, compressed air would run whatever you were trying to run, pour the beer or spray the whatever. Anyway, so we would find them all over the place, and we would take them, and we would take a nail and punch it through the little hole and clear out the top so that the hole was big enough, right? Well, in those days, a lot of people smoked pipes. And if you didn't smoke a pipe, you smoked a cigarette. But anyway, they had a lot of wooden matches. And a wooden match was pretty long, but it had a big tip on it. The tip was blue and then white on the top of that. And it was I don't know what the materials were, but phosphorus, I think, was the white part. So when you struck it, okay, it flamed real big, and it stayed lit and hot for a long time because a lot of people smoked a pipe in those days. And when you smoked a pipe, you really had to work at getting it lit and keeping it lit. And so they would want to hold that pipe up and the match and keep burning tobacco until they got going with good, So anyway, there were lots of matches around. I think it was Blue Diamond or something like that was the box. But it was a big box of about, maybe 5 or 6 inches long, a couple inches high, and about a couple inches wide. It was a big thing anyway. And there'd be hundreds of matches in there. So we would take the CO2 capsule. We would take the matches. We would cut the head off the match, the little part that lit up, right? And we drop it into the CO2 capsule. And we cut a whole bunch of matches until we filled the CO2 capsule with match heads. Then we would take the last match, turn it around, put it in the tube, right, with the head out. That was the fuse. Then, okay, we would take it, when we got down to, before we put the fuse in, okay, we would take the capsule and we put it in, and I'm going to say a pipe. It wasn't a pipe. We would take an old broom. Now, they had brooms that were wooden, broom handle, but they had brooms later on that were metal or aluminum, and they were hollow, okay? It was a little hollow handle. So the handle made a nice little bazooka type weapon. So we'd slide the CO2 capsule down and pinch the metal at the end so the CO2 capsule wouldn't come out. It would just come down and the end of the CO2 capsule would stick out. Then we'd put the match in as the fuse. And then we would go outside and we'd take it. Now, we lived in a house that had a field next to us, a pretty big field. And then there was a dirt road that went back to a little factory that, I don't know, they made like checkbooks and things like that, okay, in there. And then to the left of that was Holmberg's, a lumberyard. And the lumberyard was big and open, but it had these big buildings. They were open on the side, but they had metal roofs on them. And we would fire, get this, the bazooka, from our backyard across that field, across the road and stuff, and the road bent around, over into the lumberyard and hit on the roof, the metal roof. And we'd line that sucker up, light that match in the back, and match it burned down. And when it hit the other matches and started going, that thing would fly. And I mean, when the first couple times you did it, it shocked you that it would go that far, you know, but it did. And I remember Uncle Tom telling his kids a story about it. And they're like, yeah, Dad, right, you know. So Tommy goes, oh, I'll show you guys. Now he had to go find the matches that matched, you know, because the matches today, they burn out and nothing flat. They wouldn't generate enough gas, really, to push the thing. But he put it on his back porch and aimed it into the woods behind his house. And when that thing took off in the smoke, the kids were like, whoa. Anyway, that was our entertainment for days, you know, firing our bazooka at the lumberyard. We used to fire it in the swamps and stuff like that too, you know, wherever, just to entertain ourselves, you know. So that's another little story about the kids from Singac. Take care. Talk to you later.